Hey guys, so it's been a while since I've made a video and I'm sorry it's taken so long. I tend to make excuses for myself when I don't feel my best, and I haven't been feeling my best. Now, the reasons for that actually have nothing to do with the diet, surprisingly, because I went off the diet. Today's like 105 or 110. I stopped doing carnivore or high fat carnivore around the 90-day mark. So I did go through 90 days, but something felt off because I've done this diet before and I felt good before and I just didn't feel good. So what happened was I kind of kept digging and trying to better understand the physiology, biochemistry, and stuff like that. And what I stumbled upon by accident is an illness or a condition called CIRS, CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. And at first it seemed like quackery because there's a lot of quackery in this space, unfortunately, especially when it comes to chronic illnesses and people not feeling their best because their doctors don't necessarily know how to help them beyond the standard of care, which is not always sufficient. What you end up with people who will find other terms for their conditions like adrenal fatigue, which is not an accepted medical term, but nonetheless, the symptoms of adrenal fatigue are real. People experience it. Chronic fatigue syndrome, another one of those things where doctors like, well, it's elusive. We don't know how to treat it, but here, maybe you need to lose weight. Maybe you need vitamin D. Maybe you need B12. And then they do all these things and they still don't feel good. So anyway, long story short, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, basically in a nutshell, is when your body finds itself with stress or inflammation related to something. It could be trauma, it can be a biotoxin, or something else like heavy metal toxicity. But in my case, I think that it was triggered by my trip to Costa Rica because the Airbnb I was staying at had a lot of mold. And I didn't think anything of it. Like I smelled the mold, the musty smell, but I didn't think anything of it. And then when I came back, I figured, I'm feeling like crap because, I was on vacation and eating whatever I wanted, and now I'm buckling down. So it's normal that I'm not feeling well. But when I started digging into it, there are a few different tests you can do to see if you do have a mold toxicity problem. So it's called the Visual Contrast Sensitivity, VCS, and it's a free test you can do, and it's pass-fail. If you have good vision, so they test your vision first. If they conclude that your vision is good, and you can do it on your own, on your computer, 10 minutes max. They basically put up these images with lines, and it's gray and white or gray and black or whatever, and it basically tests your contrast sensitivity. So if you have neuroinflammation, apparently they found that neuroinflammation will make it such that you can't differentiate between different contrasts as well. So when I did this test, I failed. And that's just part of it. So the second part is they have these symptom clusters, and if you see that you fall in to at least 8 of the clusters, and you fail the VCS, then that means there's a 98% chance you have a biotoxin illness, and it's also related to Lyme disease and other things like that. So anyway, long story short, I determined that I have it, and then I started on treatment, which is basically cholestyramine, which is a binder. It binds to bile, which binds to the biotoxin, removes it from your body. So I went on a carb diet before I did all this. Okay, so I went on a carb diet because I thought maybe my issues with dehydration and dry skin and dry eyes and all this stuff is because I'm not eating carbs. And carbs are hydrating and they help you with electrolyte balance sometimes if you do it correctly. So, but after eating carbs, I didn't feel any better. In fact, a lot of my symptoms got worse. My allergies are slowly kind of coming back. Maybe you can tell my eyelids are a little bit inflamed or swollen. I started breaking out a little bit. I feel like I need more sleep. There's just a lot of disadvantages to eating carbs. And it's also a lot more complicated than just throwing a steak on the stove. Definitely enjoy the variety more, but in a lot of ways, it's not better for me. So, but the reason I'm doing it is because cholestyramine, when you take it, it can constipate you. And one thing that's really important in this detox process is being able to manage gut motility so that you're excreting the biotoxins. Anyway, it's like a 12-step journey, and most of it is in the first 2 steps, which is the CSM binder, cholestyramine, and then after that you have to do a nasal spray to break up the biofilms and remove the bacteria and marcons that kind of accumulate in your sinuses from having a biotoxin illness. So I'm doing the CSM. It's been almost 3 weeks since I've been on cholestyramine, and my score on the VCS test went from 70% to now 87%. So that's pretty good progress. Overall, it's like 2 months before I'm 100%, and then I'll move to phase 2, which is the marcons. And that's pretty much it for now. I'm really hopeful about this because the last step actually resolves the autoimmunity part and helps restore vitamin D levels, which I've always struggled with no matter how much supplementation I took. So it seems like I'm getting to the root cause of all of my issues. So once I resolve that, I'm going to go back to this diet, do more testing, and see if I can't make a dent in my thyroid globulin antibodies, and then hopefully start to wean myself off once my thyroid gland is producing thyroid hormone on its own again. So that's, in a nutshell, kind of what I've been going through. Feel free to ask any questions, but that's pretty much it. Thanks, guys.